and welcome back again to the channel. So today we'll be doing something a little different. We'll be talking about employer problems that we face today, and I felt there was no other better person to bring to the channel if not here, Mr. Jonathan, who has played both roles, and I felt he would do justice to all the questions that I have here. So let's have introduce himself.
All right. Thanks for having me on the channel. So my name is Jonathan Obise, and it's a pleasure to be here. I do a number of things. I work as a consultant for an international organization, and I also run my own company, Paruto Group. Paruto Group is different things, from media to music to technology to agriculture and a host of others. So it's my pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much for honoring the invitation. So first, I just want the viewers to really understand where you came from. So first, what did you study in the university?
Interesting question. So I studied civil engineering.
Well, are you doing anything related to that?
Nope.
So I know the career, ladder has, changed over time. Like, how did you get to, being the CEO of Paruto Solutions and
Paruto Group,
yes. So, like, how did it all start? What brought about you starting Paruto?
Well, I think it's always been a thing for me, entrepreneurship. So even from my school days, not even from my school days, even when we were much younger, our morning schools was entrepreneurship. Remember, selling stuff even as kids. So it's always been a thing. So despite the fact I was studying civil engineering, I was still passionate about technology. I was trying to build stuff, with friends and all of that. So, being an entrepreneur is not really, I wouldn't say it was like I had a clear path. I wanted to, of course, be a career person. I pursued, getting a structural engineering job and, work out, eventually pursuing my own thing, eventually that just, helped me to garner all the skill sets and all of that, that allowed me to now, deploy that skill set working as a consultant for international organization. And then, of course, with time and with resources coming in, I was now able to put together, Paruto Group.
So, you guys are going to pardon me. I'll be looking to my book to ask you questions. So, you made mention of working in an international organization, and I just want to start from that area. So, I read a book and it said that the opportunity is not to discover the perfect company for ourselves, but the opportunity is to build the perfect company. So, what does that mean to you?
The opportunity. Okay, so I think, so that statement is true in the sense that most of the time, building a career is not always a straight route. It's not always a straight route. You're going to go from A to B. It's always A and then zigzag and then you land at B, or you will land at C, because life is not always straight like that. So, the idea, of course, of finding a perfect company may not happen for most people. Most people have the opportunity of working in perfect company, and they desire and then they got the opportunity. But for most people, you would have to, sort of find ways to give your best in spite of whatever you find yourself. And then eventually, if you're putting your best, you're giving your best, you'll be able to find yourself in a perfect company that actually meets your own desires. So I think,
how was it? What did you do to get that perfect company, which is the international organization that you are with at the moment? What were those things that you put in place for them to have, seen you as the man for the job? Because I'm sure everybody wants to work with a perfect company, but some also say, it's good to start small. So how do you, start small, or you just land it yourself there? Like, what was it like for you?
So for me, it wasn't a straight road. So at this point in time, or at the time, when I started working, I was actually pursuing a startup venture. building something with some friends. But then I realized that it wasn't really working out the way we had planned it was going to work out, which is the reality of life, you know. And at that juncture, I realized that, hey, since we couldn't make this work out, I have to pivot into something. You know, and that was when I decided, okay, since I have all this skill set and I have all this knowledge, why not put that together and find a way to volunteer with specific international organizations. So I had my mind, of course, international organizations, and then I was actually looking for volunteering opportunities, right? So it happened at some point I was even discouraged because they were not coming forth, you know, the way I wanted. But then one day, you know, I was just lucky. I opened up my laptop, went to the site where I was looking for opportunities, and then I saw a particular opportunity and I applied for it. And then luckily for me, I had the skill set that matched the volunteering opportunities, and that was how I got in volunteering, not payment. So because not a paid opportunity, because I was only interested in creating valuable relationship. If you create valuable relationship with, you know, certain people, it can lead to opportunities. So I was just interested in volunteering, not necessarily the payment, you know. And then from the volunteering, they saw what I brought to the table, and then from that led to a real opportunity, you know. So that was like how.
So what was the volunteering opportunity? What was the role?
So the role at the time was a data analysis kind of role, right? So it had to do with data. Now, luckily for me, I studied civil engineering because that had nothing to do with that. But prior to that time, you know, I attended a conference, a boot camp actually, data analysis boot camp, you know, by Data Science Nigeria. So coincidentally, I had attended that, you know, and then got some training. Now that was because, of course, I was passionate about it. So I sponsored myself, you know, to travel to Lagos to actually go attend, you know. So it now happened that when the opportunity came out, you know, that was after, you know, the boot camp. So adding all of that, you know, I had just attended a boot camp and this and that gave me the edge, you know, above a lot of people who will apply, you know, that was how I did it.
So next question is, so after, like, let's say, I'm just going to give a scenario of someone that, you know, just got a job, and then the contractual agreements in the job agreements stated some certain things, and then subsequently, when you start working, you notice that the job roles that are now given to you has exceeded the contractual agreements that you had with them. How do you go about it? How do you go about it? You know, telling them, oh, this is not what I agreed on, and like, how do you now go about you getting extra, you know, pay? Because that is what happens mostly in our labor.
Well, so good question first off. So the reality of the work environment is, you know, now depending on the work environment, if it's a private organization, the expectation of the employee should be very agile, you know, so should be able to respond, you know, to opportunities as they come. Now, you can't really grow if you're not really open to taking on responsibility, right? Because in a typical organization, the person who takes on more responsibility and shows more competence will always get ahead of anyone who is running away from responsibility, right? So the truth about it is that, of course, in some organizations, you may have a job profile that states what you're supposed to do, right? And then sometimes it may go over and beyond. Now, if it goes over and beyond to the extent where it's, of course, it's not affecting your life-work balance, there's no life-work balance, that becomes a problem, right? But if the opportunities that are coming to you, additional opportunities are opportunities that can actually lead to your promotion, and then you still have, you're able to manage life-work balance, even though that's a tough thing, you know, for most people. But if those opportunities are actually, like, let me say you're taking opportunities for somebody who has a higher pay grade than you, and that could show that you're competent, right? And you could replace somebody who's higher than you, that's a good thing, right? But if it begins to affect your life-work balance, that's when you probably need to have a discussion with your supervisor and all of that. But then it's always a dicey situation, because in some organizations that could be seen as you running away from responsibility, and then that could lead to, you know, not getting the proper performance review, that could lead to your promotion or additional pay and things like that. In some organization, depending on the culture of the organization, they'll understand that, okay, maybe this is now another thing is, if you're actually taking somebody else's responsibility. That would show that the person is negligent, right? And then maybe that will go for disciplinary measures, right? With respect to the person who is not doing what they should do, and therefore because of their laziness or their incompetence, they're shifting their work to somebody else. So you need to have those type of conversations, you know. But I think as an employee, you have to understand the company culture, but most importantly, you know, primarily if it affects your life and work balance, then that's a conversation you should have with your supervisor.
Yeah, from what you said, I don't know if I asked the question well, but I totally agree with you. But the scenario I was trying to paint was, you are doing those things and you're playing those roles well, but like you are supposed to be promoted, but you are not promoted, and you're still basically having the same pay you agreed with the company at the point of your agreement was like you're already doing a lot of things, and it's now becoming overwhelming for you, but there's no pay, extra pay, there's no like recognition as to, oh, you are doing this, or this is what you are bringing to the table. So how do you go about asking for an extra pay